Hello and welcome to the Alabama House District 12 runoff, was to be a debate. We are live at the beautiful Bailey Center Auditorium on the grounds of Wallace State College in Hanceville. Thank you to our gracious host, Wallace State College, and Dr. Vicki Karlowicz for believing that hearing from candidates is important. The 2025 Tribune Debate Series continues this summer and into the fall with a full slate of forums for candidates in House District 11, House District 12, and local municipal elections. These events are designed to give the public more than slogans. They offer unfiltered answers, direct comparisons, and meaningful accountability. Today we focus on the runoff election for Alabama House Representative District 12 between candidates Clint Hollingsworth and Cindy Myrex. While Clint Hollingsworth is here this afternoon, Cindy Myrex declined invitations to join the debate. She provided the following statement. I'm truly grateful for the invitation to participate in another debate. However, I will respectfully decline at this time. I've had the opportunity to join two forums alongside my opponent, one with the Coleman County Republican Party and another with the Coleman County Chamber of Commerce. I've also shared several videos and continue to spend as much time as possible out in the community listening to voters and connecting with families across the district. Right now, I feel the best way I can serve this campaign is by being present and accessible to the people I hope to represent. Thank you again for the invitation and for your understanding. Sincerely, Cindy Myrex. The Tribune works diligently to reach every candidate, but if a candidate declines to respond to emails, calls, there's only so much we can do. The invitation stands, the forum is open. If a candidate does not attend, an empty chair will sit beside those who do. With all of that being said, let's get on with it. Candidate rules. We're going to kind of change this up a little bit more.
Sure.
What it is, but these are the basic candidate rules for all debates. No electronic devices permitted. Questions will be presented in a question and answer format since your opponent elected not to attend. Opening statement is limited to 60 seconds and may be a prepared statement. Time allotted will be 2 to 3 minutes since this will be a Q&A. Closing statement is limited to 2 minutes and must be spoken without notes. Voters deserve substance over slogans. Talking points won't be enough. So please remember to answer the questions as they are asked. So let's begin.
Absolutely.
All right. And so we're going to start. And Mr. Hollingsworth, if you would, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I'm Clint Hollingsworth. I'm running for House District 12 seat here in Coleman County. And I've been working hard on the campaign trail and got to meet a lot of different folks and had a really good time, very educational experience, and really look forward to serving everybody in this district. We certainly have a lot of needs and things that we need to tackle, and I look forward to showing up in Montgomery like I'm showing up today to discuss those issues. And I want to make sure that everybody always knows I will make time to be at any type of debate or forum to answer questions and make sure that people understand where I'm coming from and maybe some things that we're dealing with in our district. So I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate Dr. Karlowicz hosting this. This room is pretty special, and really this campus is special to me because I attended Wallace State here back in right out probably 1995 to 97. It's hard to think it's been that long ago, but unbelievable how it's transformed and grown and has really made an impact that really we probably never be able to measure of all the folks that's come through here and has got a career and really improved their life and their family's life. And so this room also, back in '08, was special because my first year on council, this is where we had a big announcement for Royal Technologies coming to Coleman. And if y'all remember in '08, there was nothing good going on when it came to the economy. It was a downturn and it was bad, but this was an unbelievable shot in the arm for this community. And we're glad that they still are here and doing very well. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for showing. We're going to get right into the questions with question number one. Some of these are Tribune were put together by the Tribune, and then we have these lovely audience questions
Oh, yeah,
to
I
get
can't wait for
to.
those.
So we're
Always
gonna
like a surprise.
Yeah, we're gonna get in between those, between question 3 and 4, and between questions 6 and 7.
Sure.
So we'll answer. We'll get some of those.
Can y'all talk louder so people can hear you on
Sure.
the radio?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Verna.
Here we go. We'll speak.
All
to
right. Number 1, what is the single most pressing issue facing District 12 right now, and how would you address it in your first legislative session? Please be specific.
So I would say, my experience on the campaign trail, I think certain issues are different for different communities. I think we all have the same common issues when it comes to, infrastructure. And I'm talking, when I say infrastructure, it's more than just about roads. Yes, it is roads. Yes, it is bridges. And yes, that's probably number 1. But it's also broadband, which has been unbelievable what has already we've seen accomplished with Sprout and our co-op, and kudos to them. And so I think that roads, bridges, infrastructure type things are always probably number 1, the most consistent, but also a traffic signal at Dodge City. That's been an issue specifically for that area that has come to me over and over again from the folks in that area. And so I want to make sure that, yes, there's different communities that have things and needs, volunteer fire departments, communication, radios. So it's a lot of things, but I would say overall, our whole infrastructure, roads, bridges, broadband, those have been the most consistent.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to question number 2. What is your plan for preserving District 12's small-town character while still allowing for economic growth?
Repeat that question, please.
All right, we'll go again. What is your plan for preserving District 12's small-town character while still allowing for economic growth?
That's something that has popped up as well, because it is a delicate balance. And certainly I don't have all the answers. I can just try to point to what we've been able to accomplish as a council over the years, where we do want to be sensitive to still having that small town feel, but yet offer the things that our kids want for them to come back and live and have a career in Coleman. And so I think the measuring stick that I've looked at being on the council is that, have we done those things that gives our children a reason why I want to come back to Coleman, because I can have a career there. I can raise my children there. This is a safe area to raise my kids. And so we want to keep that intact. So I think it's a combination of working with all our leadership and being sensitive to our constituents of what they want to see going forward, whether it's growth in retail, growth in our housing, industrial development. All these things play a role in our economy, and I'm certainly proud of what we've been able to do so far, but there's still more work to do. And this district is very widespread, so I want to make sure that everybody understands that they've got a voice with me in Montgomery, and this is not the end of our relationship, it's just the beginning, and I want to make sure everybody knows going forward that I will continue these trips around to listen to my constituents.
All right, thank you for that. We'll move on to question number 3. How do you plan to communicate with and stay accessible to constituents once elected?
Well, I give everybody my cell phone number. People say you don't need to do that, but I do. It's part of I'm a small business owner, and so I'm used to giving my number out because that's my livelihood. If I don't show up to work and sell cars, I can't feed my family. So that communication, I think, is really better than ever. I think anybody in leadership, whether it's their cell number, whether it's their email, whether it's meeting over a cup of coffee and be willing, I think that as a public servant, I think we need to do a better job of being proactive, and we see somebody that may have questions or may have an issue, reach out to that person. And I think I've learned a lot about that on this campaign trail, because we do have people that may not know me. They may have heard other things, and you need to be sensitive to that and be proactive and reach out to them, and let's sit down over a cup of coffee and let's talk about these issues. And so I think going forward, people have got accessible to their leaders more than ever. I think it's up to the leader to be receptive and act and make sure that they respond and respond quickly.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, we're going to move on to a audience question.
Okay.
So this is random to me too.
All right.
So, fundamental to a good local economy are high-paying professional jobs, engineers, scientists, high-end manufacturing, and certainly other career fields. In general, there seems to be more focus on bringing in consumer-type business to the district. These create more low-end, minimum wage jobs. What will you do to attempt to bring in high-end technical business to create more professional jobs?
I think that you lean on, obviously, our industries and business leaders. Obviously, Dr. Karlowitz here has been very instrumental in leading, Wallace State and all the wonderful things, the opportunities here for people to pick that career path. And we do have some areas that I would love to tap into, whether it's the culinary side or some of the areas that you mentioned where we have just, the engineering side. You're seeing so much in Hanceville, obviously with all their growth. And I think Coleman County as a whole plays a role in that. Our workforce development, to me, I think has been phenomenal because we've got folks that, obviously have got a skill set that they can do things with their hands. And so being part of Leadership Alabama, I've been able to travel across the state and see what other areas are doing, and I'd love to see some of these things come back to Coleman that maybe we are lacking. But I think that number one, we live and die off sales tax in order to pay the bills. As a council member, that's my job, that's my duty. We're kind of hold the purse strings for the city council and going forward of doing things. And so we want to be able to have these events, our Christ Candle Market, and some of the things we do, our Park and Rec, and bring people in and them enjoy our facilities and events and then leave and go back home. And so we're able to enjoy those here even though somebody else is helping pay for it. So when your street's done, when these city services and county and these services that are done, those are done by sales tax. That's how we pay for things. And so I think that going forward with young people, and I've got 4 children here, and they've all got express ideas of what they want to do. It all goes back to helping them and assisting them in the right career path. And Wallace State down here is a gym to help do that.
And so how would you help redirect jobs out to that district that are higher paying?
I think it's kind of sitting down with our leadership, county commission, and obviously our everybody involved to try to show what we have in some areas that maybe would be a good spot for them to locate their business or locate their plant or locate in their facility. I know Rahal with their engineers, that facility turned out phenomenal out front there, and that was a different type of job that we hadn't seen at that time. So I think that we've got a lot of things already here, but there's certainly some things that we can kind of attract. But they want to be able to live here as well, and so we've got a lot of great things that we can offer. Smith Lake obviously is one, and then just our downtown and just all these areas that we have. There's a lot of options and opportunity here, and so I think we can just kind of work with folks that want to locate here, and we need to make it where it's attractive.
We're going to move on to another audience question. Will you be the voice to fight for the people, voters, to be able to vote on projects or lotteries, etc., not others making decisions without their vote, so they feel their voting matters as many don't vote due to such?
Okay, so we've kind of had a similar, I think, question before when it comes to the lottery and gambling and those type things. Certainly, that needs to be a vote of the people. But like what I've said before, on any type of proposed retail development or industrial development, any time we've got a presentation or proposal, the devil's always in the details, and we need to make sure that we read over what's being presented and we go through, because a decision's not made that day, that week, sometimes that month, and so you really need to understand what's being proposed. Ultimately, when it comes to the lottery, I know that will continue to come up, but ultimately that needs to be a vote of the people.
And so for the ones that are being proposed that wouldn't be a vote of the people, what is the best way for people to stay informed, and how would you keep them informed of what's going on?
I think that when you're obviously in session, it's going to be tough just because there's so much going on. But I think, after you come out of session, I've already been used to going to a lot of these community centers and senior centers and volunteer fire departments, and obviously doing this forum right here. I think that's all part of this, is making yourself accessible. And I think the media certainly can help with that, and let's get the word out. And I think if we deal with things on the front end, it's not as much of a shock for people when something does happen. And there again, that's on the leaders. That's not necessarily on the voters. The voters do need to be informed. They do need to obviously want to learn, but I also think as a leader, we need to make sure and include them in ways that be receptive, that they want to be involved.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, we're going to get back into our questions, the Tribune questions with number 4. And this is, the district is experiencing population growth, which puts strain on infrastructure. How would you secure funding to repair and expand roadways without raising local taxes?
So that's a really good question. We have, obviously, I've done this, I'm still doing it, and we'll continue to do it. But you guys remember, I'll just look at 305 exit. If y'all remember, that area is a main artery there, 222, going out to the lake and our industries. It took a lot longer than it's supposed to, but eventually that project got done. That was over a $10 million project. And the city of Coleman, the county, not everybody can do, I mean, it takes everybody coming together to do a project like that for that interchange. And so on that specific project, the state was involved, the city of Coleman was involved, the county was involved, Good Hope was involved. Everybody came together and built and got that interchange done. And then I was also a part of resurfacing from I-65 all the way to Topre. We were involved in that. That was about $1 million project, and we worked with ARC and CDBG in order to get that done. And so qualifying for grants, having a good skilled grant writer, so we can kind of get in our application up at the top to get these funds is crucial. And so I've been a part of these projects, these signals and interchanges and things that are just, they're big projects. 157 and 4-laning there. We just got finished with St. Bernard Bridge project. We're trying to secure funding there. So there's a lot of really good things that have happened and will continue to happen, but it does take more than just one group to do it. You've got to bring people together, and we all have to have kind of that common goal to take care of all of Coleman County, not just a select group. And I think we've done that, and I've done that, and proud to be a part of it.
All right. Thank you for that. We'll move on to question number 5. Some intersections in our county have seen repeated fatal accidents, yet red lights or stop signs are slow to appear. Can you walk us through how that process works of getting a red light installed, especially when it's on a state highway or a federal roadway?
Yes, and so that's another example of 24th Street in Cherokee. If any of you guys travel that area, that was also a problem. And once again, we've got an obligation to assist in our industries that have invested a lot of money in employees and things in these trucks getting their goods back and forth. And so if any of you guys have traveled through there, it was like Frogger. I mean, it was scary because it truly was just, it was really confusing and scary at times, turning in and out. That was a project, once again, that was RWC, our industry here in town, Good Hope, and the city of Coleman came together and built that traffic signal. And that was a huge win for everybody with our businesses, our residents, and our industry in that town, in that area. Has made such a huge impact, and that's been just a few years ago. So that's one example. Another example of, once again, people coming together and doing the common good for our constituents.
So when people approach or contact you, even if it's just one individual talking about a specific intersection, would you go out and view that? What would you do?
Sure, and I think it's sometimes it's tough to take the emotional side out of decisions. You do need to look at the data and the research and look at all those things, because sometimes people just feel like they need a stop sign, or they just feel like we need this, and I understand that. There may be a personal connection there and may have had something happen there to a relative, and I'm certainly sensitive to that. You just kind of get into, you don't want to make things worse either. And so I think it's important that in that example that I just mentioned, there was an outcry from our businesses, industry, and residents in that area that something needed to be done. And so we stepped up, we were receptive to those requests, and obviously we made that project happen. West Main was another one with all our families, myself included, going back and forth from the ball field, soccer and football and basketball practices and baseball, all this. And so we've resurfaced that parking lot. West Main now has a nice crosswalk. It's got a traffic signal there. And West Main now is probably one of our, probably the second most traveled roads in Coleman. And so in that area through there, it was crucial to make that safe. And that's been a big priority of mine going forward, is that public safety.
And so that would be something you would carry over into District 12?
Yeah, so all of this district, we were talking about 222 with some folks down in Crane Hill area that have had some situations that were pretty scary with a drop-off shoulder. And I understand that people are doing as much as they can with the road departments and things. And I think it was Chairman Clem that says that we have 1,800 miles of roads to maintain in Coleman County. That is unbelievable to think about. And so I just think that at the state level, there's some things there that we can do to assist with that. And then also in DC, like I've said before, they have the big checkbook up there. And so that's how we got 157 done. That's how we're getting 278 done. And so all these entities, and once again, it's your tax money that's being used that we're getting back to pay for these projects. Because people always wonder, where's my tax money going? Well, I can point to it. And so I think that is something that with this whole district from going around, we do have roads and bridges that need to be addressed to make sure they're safe.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to question number 6. Thank you for that. I know it's a
Sure.
little more extended than the other ones. Number 6, tourism is a growing part of our economy. What's your vision on expanding tourism while respecting existing communities?
So one of the great things, I am obviously the liaison for tourism and really, really love being able to be a part of what we've been seeing with our park and rec, sports tourism, to our airport, to our chamber, our museum. Once again, anything that will attract folks to come in and help us pay for things are always good, where it's not a tax burden on our locals. And so I think with the sports tourism side, I think that it is a delicate balance. One of the things that a lot of times I have to remind people, we've got some great community parks. The folks that were way before me having that vision of setting aside little community parks all throughout our Coleman and our community was fantastic. And so our director, Nathan Anderson, had the idea of improving what we already have. And so those have been vital. We're in the process of doing one over in East Side right now. But it's opening up a forum to those folks in that area to what do you want in this area? What do you want in this community park? And so that has been really good hearing the feedback, because sometimes what we may think people want may be different versus when you actually get there and talk to them one-on-one. But I just think people need to understand that it all goes back to the premise of giving our children a reason to come back to Coleman to work and raise their children all through Coleman County. And so I think with our diversity of what we can offer, there's areas in the county, there's areas in the city and the lake, and we've got so many beautiful areas that people can live and raise their family and actually have a career here. And so I think that we do need to be a little bit receptive, more receptive of exactly before we do a main project, what that impact's going to be, good and bad. But I think we've done a good job of that, and we're going to continue that.
Okay. All right. Well, that brings us to another audience question.
All
So,
right.
yeah, another audience
All
question.
right. See if I can figure out who asked this one out of the crowd here.
We got several on this one, so we're going to have fun because, we got a little time.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, Mr. Hollingsworth, with your many years of public service, what are some of the infrastructure projects that you helped to bring to Coleman, and what are you most proud of?
So I think that with my experience over the years of seeing this transformation of things that were either in neglect or decline, infrastructure definitely was one of those. We had bridges that fire trucks could not cross. And I think we've been able to do Eva Road Bridge, Larkwood Bridge. Those are two projects on the bridges that were drastically needed. and that have improved safety and lower insurance rates for our homeowners. I think that projects that have helped everybody coming through Coleman, who lives in Coleman, works in Coleman, is Highway 157 with that expansion. That took years and years and years of just being very demanding to get help for this. And so those trips to DC to try to get with our leaders that we've got to have help. And you've got to go up there with one, maybe two solid requests and be laser focused on that. And I think the county and us have come together on that particular project. And it was great to see that finally done and the ribbon cutting. And that has helped our residents, our industries, our businesses, all up and through that stretch. So that is a big project that I'd like to hang my hat on that helps everybody. And then St. Bernard Bridge is the next one that you'll see that my name and others will be attached to when that's completed. Even though I'll be rotating off the council, I know that they're going to see that through. And I just think that once again, it's teamwork. It's everybody coming together for the common good. And it's so important that you work with people to get these big projects done, because not one entity can do it by themselves.
I'm gonna ask a follow-up to that.
Okay.
It's a little,
right.
It goes with it. I hope the audience member doesn't mind. The interstate, we hear all the time people talking about the interstates, 2-lane, we need it 3-lane, we
Yeah.
need it 3-lane. I know that people have discussed, it's been discussed about going 3-lane. So what would you do to kind of help push that through and get that done as quickly as possible?
Specifically,
can we turn off phones?
Specifically
please? Thank you.
I-65?
Yes.
Okay, I think from what I've heard, that President Trump actually in one of his big announcements speaking to a lot of Alabamians was that whole I-65 from the Tennessee-Alabama line all the way down to the coast. So if elected, I may have to hold him accountable to that. So that would be a massive undertaking, but I think we all would agree that would be a huge impact to be able to help with traffic flow. And we all can relate that we see accidents, unfortunately, along I-65 that do get routed through 31 in our city for folks to try to get around it. And we've seen that, and we've been impacted by that. It's almost like the Bermuda Triangle down there at certain times. And so I think that that's something that, yes, a lot of these big projects have to be done in phases. And I know it's aggravating. There's delays. We've seen this before along I-65. But certainly, if that's a main priority for our constituents here, I certainly would support that. I just know that sometimes it's kind of prioritizing those things and being realistic of actually what can get done. But hey, I won't ever put a ceiling or a cap on Coleman County when it comes to getting things done and improving our quality of life.
All right, thank you for that. We'll move on to this person's second question. Coleman County has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the United States. What companies did you help to recruit to create better paying jobs for our community?
Well, I think that some of our industries that we see here, I think of some of your Royal Technologies that we talked about. I know that we've had several expansions in our industries as well. So it's one thing to recruit them. It's another thing to actually give them a reason to stay, because it's so competitive. All these states and communities would love to have these industries in their county for jobs and careers. And so I think we always look at what's being recruited new, but let's look at the talent and the folks we've got here in place to keep our industries here. And I think that's one thing that resonates when you see a Topre, you see a Ray Howe, you see some of these that's been here for a long time. There's a reason why they're staying here. And I think that all our leaders in Coleman have done a really good job of taking care of them and addressing needs, down the road. Because right now our workforce, it's kind of a double-edged sword. We have such low unemployment rate. It is difficult finding people, to fill these positions. And so we also need to have housing for these folks too. When they finally land somebody to work here, they've got to have an affordable place to live as well. And so I think that, looking at some of the industries that we've attracted and we've recruited on the new side, but also been a part of the expansions and also the retention, I think all three of those are crucial. I think the retail was another biggie that I was a part of when all the retail started coming to us back around really 2012, a little bit later, is Publix and Dick's Sporting Goods. That was a dying area that now it's unbelievable driving through there and what has trickled up close to 157. I think that has been tremendous for that area of town because there were business owners and residents saying, y'all have got to do something. This is an eyesore in our community. We've got such a great town and county, but going through here, it's just sad. And so the retail growth has also been a huge part of job creation as well.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to move to this person's third question. Like I said, they have several questions on here. All right. Senator Gudger has been able to bring back many of our tax dollars lately for school and infrastructure projects and infrastructure improvement. With your experience, do you believe you will be able to bring more of our money back to this community? Absolutely.
I feel very confident in that. I think that relationships at the end of the day matter. You may have all the data and research and things to get things done and prove that, hey, I need this for my area. But at the end of the day, so does everybody else in the state of Alabama when it comes to needs. And so you've got to make sure that you can work with people that may not even agree with you and make your case. You need to show up and do your job and make sure that you're standing down there firm for your constituents here in this district, and make sure that you make the case of why my area needs it more maybe than another area does. And so I think, once again, that's being in tune with your constituents in this district. But I feel very confident of what I've been able to do and work with people here in our community already. That will translate here for this whole district and for all of Coleman County for that matter. It is working with a team. Teamwork is what matters when it comes to these big projects, and being able to get the funding and the money and the grants and all these things. You've got to be able to work and use these relationships that I've established all these years to be able to make things happen. And it's all about being effective. And I feel confident that going forward, I'm going to show up and be effective for this district. And I think it's going to be unbelievable what we're going to see in the future when it comes to making improvements and addressing these needs for the district.
All right. This will be the final question for the audience. Do you support medical cannabis for the sick and dying to give them a better quality of life?
Well, my opinion of this is really changed. From a personal outlook, prior to me, I was diagnosed in 2006 with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I think it was a deal that certainly at 29 years of age, that was a complete shock to myself and my wife and family at the time. And my outlook on medicinal cannabis certainly changed going through chemo. And if anybody has ever battled cancer of any form, there are certain times dealing with what I had to deal with. I wish I had a gummy, because I needed relief. And it was something that an aspirin wasn't going to cut it. And so I know there's a lot of folks out there that deal with very similar pain. And it's something that there's a product out there that's safe, that has regulation, that it truly is something that's going to do what it says it's going to do. Then why would I be against that? I went through this myself, and I would be a hypocrite saying otherwise. And I think that's the part that people really have a problem, is dealing with people that, they're being hypocritical about issues. But that affected me personally, and that's something that resonates. And so my view on that certainly had changed after I went through 6 rounds of chemo, and one of the drugs was called Red Devil, and it lived up to its name. And so, and that, by the grace of God, that I'm cancer-free. That was back in 2006. We're in 2025 now, and I'm still here. And so, certainly, if that will help somebody with their pain, I certainly understand.
And a follow-up to that would be, Alabama's already legalized medical marijuana, but they have dragged their feet to get it into dispensaries, to actually get dispensaries named, licensed. I mean, we have a local hemp manufacturer here in Coleman County. He was one of the first to start, help with the legislation, but they are dragging their feet. So how would you get medical marijuana in dispensaries and to medical clients?
And you're right. Obviously, they've already passed this and things, and I know they got a lot of the synthetic and things off the shelves, and certainly, obviously, I was not down there to deal with the inner workings and details of that. That would be something I would like to kind of look into. Say, all right, where we're at here. What's what's the latest in this? Because I know there are folks that are kind of wondering, what's going on, and so that's something I'll be glad to look into when I get down there and relay that back to the people that have asked questions that may not be getting any answers, and figure out why. What's the holdup? And we need to figure out those details. And so, like I said before, it's kind of reading and understanding and exactly and seeing what's going on with any type of bill or any kind of legislation. What's the latest? And so I'll be glad to check on that for sure.
And we'll get back to our Tribune questions with number 7. Well, 7 for the Tribune.
Sure.
All right. As a freshman legislator, what specific committees would you seek to join to maximize influence for District 12?
Well, I'm a small business owner, like I've said, and so I think that probably hits closer to home than anything else. And so I just see and hear from other small business owners what they deal with, and obviously from the tax side of it to just the burden, and if you don't have multiple streams of income coming in these days, it's really hard to support a family. And I just think that the small business owners really is probably what I'm closest to, which obviously as a council member you want to deal with everybody, but at this level I think that would probably be something that would hit closer to home with me, just because it's things people stressing out trying to make payroll and things like that just, it's a different animal than government. And so that's the positive with me as your candidate, is I understand both. I've seen the governmental side and how that works, and I've seen the small business side and how that works. And that's unique. You don't get that with each candidate. And I think that's an advantage with myself, is that a lot of this is personal to me because I've experienced it. I've gone through it. I've done it. I'm doing it, and will continue to do it going forward, and making sure people understand that I get it. I get it. I truly do.
All right. This is going to be a fun one.
Okay.
All right. Number 8, in one sentence, why should voters trust you to represent their values and interest in Montgomery for the next, well, this will be for 8 to 10 months, but.
So why should the voters trust me? What was the rest of that?
Why should voters trust you to represent their values and interest in Montgomery?
Well, I mean, obviously, I live here in Coleman County, and I'm, obviously the candidate that can relate with a lot of different people, and I've got experience. If they're doubtful of what I'm bringing to the table, I can point to multiple things in my community that I've played a role in. Did I do it by myself? I'm not saying that at all. But I played a role. I was part of the team. I was a starter, and I wasn't a third string, candidate here or somebody that was a bench warmer. I was actually involved. I was in those meetings. I was dealing with these people that were coming and making these proposals. And yes, I know you said one sentence, but I think ultimately it's the experience, the resume that is actually real, all of Coleman County in this area that I can point to.
Okay. That leads us to number 9. Families across District 12 are feeling the strain of rising costs, from groceries to gas to housing. How will you help families struggling with the rising cost of living?
So I know that the grocery tax was something that I feel that will probably most likely get reduced. To what level, I don't know, but certainly anytime you can reduce taxes, that's a win for everybody at whatever level. It doesn't matter. I think that there is rising costs. We were talking about earlier with some of the costs of your produce, and it's just like, it's scary to keep seeing these prices go up, and up. At what point is it going to level out, And so kind of getting into the weeds of exactly the details of what can be done at that level to assist with that. Certainly the tax part of it is an element potentially, but I think there's some other things that maybe could be looked at. I know gasoline obviously is something that anytime that drops, that's obviously a big win. But you know, I think the overall mindset from what I hear with people is, yes, we want to reduce taxes, yes, low as possible. But if there is a tax, or we all are paying taxes, if you can at least see where that tax money is going, and it's actually going to a real project, it's going to a real need, especially in my district, then maybe people will be at least reasonably dissatisfied, you know, with that. And so I think it's something that I think most people understand they're going to have to pay taxes. It's just they want to see where it's going, how it's being utilized, and being good stewards of it. And I think with myself, through the years in my public service already, I've got a record of truly being responsible for sales tax that's in. And I think that, you know, anytime we can bring sales tax in, it'll help all of Coleman County. And so I think regulation's another element of that, and looking into seeing what's causing some of these high costs of things. So that's something at that state level I would love to educate myself more on.
All right. And you mentioned the grocery tax,
Yes.
that it has been reduced a little bit.
Yes.
Would you be in favor of a suspended or an eliminated grocery tax?
I definitely would like to see, because certainly what you don't want to do is feel like you're improving an area over here, but then there's an increase over here, and there's you know, playing the shell game with people, that doesn't go over well. And so it's important that if you're truly going to cut something, let's cut it and make sure it's effective and it affects everybody. Mm-hmm. I know the overtime, you know, taxes, I've heard, you know, there's obviously rumblings of trying to do something there. Obviously we all eat in restaurants and things, and a lot of these waiters and waitresses and their tips being, you know, taxed, different things like that people have talked about. So anytime you can reduce a tax and truly reduce it and cut it out, the better. You just don't want to cut here and then over here something goes up. That does not go over well.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, and we're going to move to question number 10, which is, as you know, Coleman County is one of the most productive agricultural regions in Alabama. How would you help those farming families who are facing challenges like higher input cost, labor shortages, and unpredictable markets?
You know, the farmers and people that I know, they either bought trucks from me or in that industry, the poultry side of it specifically. You know, agriculture and these farmers are the backbone of Coleman County. And I feel like sometimes they may feel like they kind of get left out when it comes to certain things. Talking with, you know, certain farmers that I know, I had a poultry farmer contact me. He knew that I was the chairman of Coleman Jefferson Gas. And he said, Clint, he said, I need some help. And I need some help. I've paid my bills, but cash flow is tough right now. And I just need a couple extra months to pay this bill. And so I've looked into it, and he's been a great customer. And I could tell in his voice it was an issue. And so I looked into it, and we helped him. And we were able to spread that out just a little bit further than, say, what our policy said. Is we used common sense, and we listened to him, and we looked at what, you know, obviously he's doing. And he's a local guy in the southern part of Coleman County that just needed some help that month or the next couple of months. And so that's something that we were able to extend that, and he was able to pay that off. And I think that's something that being receptive and make sure that you are sensitive to what these farmers are going through. A lot of them are under a lot of stress, a lot of debt, and things they're trying to pay off. And there's such an unpredictable market when it comes to poultry or anything else for that matter of what the future lies. And so that's just a personal example that I appreciate him calling me. Because if he's going to pick up the phone, track me down as the chairman, that meant a lot to him, and it certainly meant a lot to me to help him.
So would you be open to meting with farmers and other industries?
Absolutely.
and
Yes,
discussing?
I spoke to the Alpha board here locally. That was actually last month. And I had a great time getting to talk to them, listen to their side of things. That board, there's so many board members and so many farmers throughout Coleman County And everybody's got needs and they need help and relief. And so certainly I'll be glad to meet with any group. I have met with several groups. I'll meet anywhere, anytime. So it's been really great on this campaign trail to get to know people, sit down, and just talk about the issues. I'm always willing to show up and talk about the issues.
All right. Well, that brings us to our last question.
Wow.
I know,
But not
right?
least, huh?
Everybody's like, yes, finally. All right. So number 11, strong schools are the backbone of a strong community. What will you do to help support and improve local schools in District 12?
So I think number one, believe it or not, I'm actually a physical education major and attended Wallace State. Then I ended up going to Athens State and finished in 1999. My wife is also a physical education major. She taught a couple years at Hanceville down here. All her family, her mother and my father-in-law and all her grandparents and aunts and uncles, the Carters and the York family, we've got a long lineage of educators in Coleman County. Her great-grandfather, York, was the superintendent of Coleman County schools back in the 60s. And I've heard a lot of praises from educators that either were their first job was in Coleman County and was hired by Mr. York at that time. And so it's been really cool to see the impact of her family, the Carter side and the York side, of being educators. And my sister-in-law just retired as an educator. And so certainly that resonates big time with me and making sure we take care of our teachers and our administration and being able to attend their teacher institutes each year, being able to attend the county, all the principals and assistant principals, and being able to get to see and be around them. And so this whole district and county as a whole, I've been able to fellowship and talk and listen to them. I think that going forward, finish up the question here on exactly.
All right. What will you do to support and improve local schools in District 12?
Help improve it, yes. So obviously, I know Senator Gudger just presented a check, and that was, I'm sure, tremendous and big impact. I think that, having the relationships I have with Shane Barnett and with Call Off with the city, I think is tremendous, because your board members, you need to know them. You need to be able to listen to what their needs are. And so education is a main priority, and we need to make sure it's properly funded, but not just on the level of our schools here from elementary, middle school, and high school, but obviously Dr. Collerwitz here at Wallace State. All levels, it's important. We also have, with our Coleman Christian School and St. Bernard, we've got a lot of options for education here in this county, and I would definitely want to be receptive and available to help every single one of them.
Okay. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of all the questions, and so we're going to turn it over to you for your closing statement, and then I'll do my little closing statement. We're done.
Absolutely. That'll be good. Well, obviously, I really appreciate you guys attending. I appreciate you guys that are watching at home, taking your time out to listen to what I have to say. And obviously, y'all have expressed issues for the last few months of what's important to you. And if it's important to you, it's important to me. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys know going forward that everybody will be representative and represented in my district when I attend and I go to Montgomery and fight for you and what you need here in this area. And so our community is fantastic. All of Coleman County, we've got a lot of potential, a lot of great things going on. But I'm a small business owner, I'm a father, I'm a granddad now. And so there's a lot of things that I can relate with you guys and everybody with when it comes to the things that we're facing right now and the stresses that families have on themselves right now. And I just want to let you know that certainly I appreciate your support and your vote going forward, and certainly your prayers as well, because this has been quite the road. The campaign trail is tough, it's not easy, but it's also been very educational, getting to know everybody in this district and being able to learn how great we really have it in Coleman County. We talk about a lot of the problems, but we've got a lot of great things, and I want to be able to continue in the future of bringing things back to Coleman County, because if I'm not effective, then certainly I'll be replaced just like that, and rightfully so. If I don't do my job and show up and deal with the hard questions and deal with things on the floor in Montgomery, I've got no business being down there. And I'm going to fight, and I'm going to work hard, I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to go even though those days may get tough and I don't want to show up, and I can come up with every excuse in the book. I will be there. You've got my word, and obviously you know where to track me down, a lot of you out there. And so I want to make sure that I've got people holding me accountable as well. But I'm serving and have served and will continue to serve because it's a deep-rooted commitment that I've got to Coleman County. When I came here from divorced parents in 1994, Coleman welcomed me with open arms from day one. I had friends immediately that welcomed me, took me in. When I married my wife in 1997, her family took me in, supported me, loved me, and I felt special. Obviously, when I had diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2006, once again, this community loved on me, prayed for me. While my son, was down at Children's Hospital fighting for his life, my wife needed to take care of him. Once again, you guys prayed for me, loved on me, took care of my children. And then when I, when I also needed this community to support us and love us through the adoption with my son that's sitting right out there, that's from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, you guys stepped up once again and supported me, loved me, and embraced my son as if everybody else in my family. And it's been tremendous to see this outpouring of love, prayers, and support from all of Coleman County. And I will forever be in its debt going forward. And so that's what drives me. That's what gives me that fire in the belly going forward, is because what you have done for me, and that's why I do what I do. Because I do get asked that, why in the world would you be running for this position? And it's all deep-rooted because of what Coleman County has done for me.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, answering our questions, and showing up for our voters and our audience. And with that, this session is in the books.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, go ahead.
August the 12th is the day to vote. Tuesday, August 12th. I couldn't go without saying that.
That's fine.
So
I was
please,
actually getting
Hollingsworth for the House. So please go out to vote, and I appreciate all your love and prayers going forward.
All right. We will see you at the results Tuesday night. It starts at 7 p.m. Feel free to follow the results live on our Facebook page. We wish all the candidates the best, and we want to thank everybody for coming out, and have a safe trip going home. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.